Hey there, good morning. How are you today? I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. I hope you guys are having an awesome start to your week. I know it's Tuesday. Yesterday, a lot of people were holidaying. The weather's just been fantastic here on the East Coast, so I really hope that you are taking advantage of it and enjoying all of this. And I so look forward to talking to you. Thanks so much for taking your time and tuning in. If you're tuning in live, please check in and say hey. I'd love to know who we're talking to, so I can make sure that the messages we're sharing are messages that are helping you out with information that can help. Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you today? The other thing I want to ask you is please share. If you find the information we're talking about valuable, somebody else probably will too. So if you would just hit the share button and share it with those people that you know, that would really help us out a lot too. I really appreciate it. So this morning I wanted to talk to you about homeowners association dues. A lot of people who either have lived in a neighborhood that don't have homeowners association dues or first-time home buyers may not actually understand what the concept is, why you need to pay them, what they cover, what the ramifications are if you don't pay them, and how that actually works and where it comes from and how it's created and all of that information. So you may not necessarily need to know this today, but if you are purchasing or thinking about purchasing a home, that you may end up being in a situation where you're purchasing something that's in a neighborhood that has the homeowners association dues set up, and that you may need to understand it a little bit. And as I said, maybe there may be somebody that you know, maybe you don't live in a neighborhood that has this type of setup, but maybe someone you know does and doesn't really understand it. So let's talk about it for a minute. Homeowners association dues. So some neighborhoods have what is called an association, and the purpose of the association is to make sure that everybody has a good homeowners relationship with the neighborhood, with the people that they live around, that things are well taken care of. Maybe they have some amenities that they have the opportunity to use. So there's lots of different things that the Homeowners Association brings to the table. And so I want to talk about those for just a minute before we actually talk about the dues and why it matters. So some neighborhoods actually, when they're design it so that they have an association to make sure that all the homes are kept up well, that all of the neighbors have the opportunity to meet with each other and talk about things that may be a concern in their particular neighborhood, and also to make sure that all of the homes are kept up so everyone's home values stay at a good, reasonable price. Because we all know if you happen to live in a neighborhood that doesn't have some regulations on what you can and can't do with your home, that you may have a neighbor that has, accumulation of cars that don't run, or maybe doesn't take the best care of the outside of their home, and that affects everyone else's property values. So homeowners associations were originally created to protect each other from those types of things, to make sure that everyone keeps their property in good repair, so that everyone can enjoy the neighborhood, but also everyone can enjoy the value that their home brings to them personally and to the appearance of the neighborhood. So one of the things reasons that homeowners associations established are for those types of things, so that everybody can enjoy a comfortable, clean, uniform type of neighborhood setting. Good morning, Miss Karen. How are you? I see your new handsome little buddy that you've trained, and I hope that your training is actually going well. I'm really excited for you about all of that. So good luck. Hey there, Lee. How are you? Thanks so much for tuning in. So homeowners associations, like I said, are designed for several things. One is the uniformity of the neighborhood to help each other. Two, some neighborhoods are designed with amenities. So it may be a neighborhood that has a pool or has tennis courts or has a nice park, or may have a dog park, leashed or unleashed dog park. And I talk about that because my good friend Karen is learning and starting to do dog training. So she has a lot of experience with that. So there may be different amenities, maybe some of those things, maybe all of those things, maybe none of those things. Maybe we just have some common area that we take really good care of, and the Homeowners Association has to have employ companies that manage those amenities. That's part of what their responsibility is. But they also have insurance to protect neighbors and people that are visiting if something happens in some of the areas that are common areas. So when we talk about common areas, think about you live in a neighborhood that has maybe it doesn't have any of those fancy amenities. Maybe it just has a little area when you enter that has a sign, maybe some flower bed areas, maybe it has common walkways, it has lights that light up those walkways. So all of those would not be owned by any of the neighborhood residents. It's actually owned by the association, and so the association has to keep it up, and the association has insurance on it to make sure no one trips and falls on an icy sidewalk, and if they do, then the association is protected, but also to make sure that all that those common areas are taken care of. So again, keeping your property values at a nice protected, and also make sure your neighborhood looks nice and upkept. It helps everyone's resale value, but it also helps when you have people come visit or family and friends around, they appreciate the way that your neighborhood looks, and it adds to the value of your home, both aesthetically and financially. So some of those are the reasons for homeowners associations and why they're set up and how they're set up. Now let's talk about the dues for a minute. So if you buy a home in a neighborhood that does have an association and there's dues attached to it, you have to pay those dues. Whether you want to or not, you have no choice. They're based on the assessed value of the property. Now, when I say you have to pay them and you have no choice, what you do have a choice with is going to the meetings, because the association is run in most cases in a completed community by the neighborhood residents. And so they have meetings and they talk about things that they're concerned about, and they talk about amenities that they want to take care of and how they want to take care of them, and they vote on values and budgets and all of those kinds of things, because those neighborhood associations actually have a company that they hire that manages all of the finances and paying out all the bills and oversees those contractors and making sure things are taken care of. But ultimately, the way for you to have input and make sure that you're involved in what's going on there, you have to be involved in those association meetings and be active. So the association is designed to protect and take care of all of the homeowners, but it only works well if all the homeowners are active. So if you want to have some say in determining what your expenses are, what your amenities are going to be, how they're taken care of, who's going to take care of them, then you have to be active in your association. So let's talk about, for a second, your association dues. So we talked about where they come from and how they're determined by the association actually voting on things. And so that's where their that's how they're maintained. When associations are originally started, typically what happens is a builder goes in and designs a neighborhood, and then they create the association, and when someone buys a new home, they actually pay into what's called a capital account that they start the association with. So, hey there, Allison. How are you this morning? Joy, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. So the association is typically designed and started by the developer of the neighborhood, and they create the initial startup cash by the homeowners that are buying into the neighborhood. They pay into a capital account. It's a capital contribution to get the association started. And that's in the agreement when you sign the paperwork to buy that home. That's part of that agreement. And then you also agree and understand that you have dues that you're going to have to pay each month or each year or every 6 months, depending on how it's designed. And that is in your sale agreement, but it's also in the documents with the title that you'll be advised of when you're going through your closing. So the association is set up by the developer, and usually the developer runs the association for as long as they own the majority of the property in the neighborhood. Now, some developers do it a little differently. I was talking to a good friend of mine this weekend who manages lots of associations, and some of them, one in particular that he deals with, the developer decided that they would oversee the bigger picture, but they let the residents, even though it's not 75% sold, they let the residents manage the association. So that way people have a say in what's going on with their amenities and their dues. So typically the developer would manage that until it's about 75% sold. I think in most cases that's how it's run, and then turn it over to the homeowners, and then the homeowners would manage it from there. The homeowners, or originally the developer decides what those dues are going to be, and usually it's a percentage or a dollar amount tied to the value of your home, and so that's where your number comes in, and everybody in the neighborhood has to contribute the same amount. So that way everybody contributes and all the amenities are taken care of. Now let's say you move into a neighborhood and you say, well, I'm not going to use the pool anyway, so I don't really want to pay the dues. Well, the dues cover a lot of things and not just your pool, but you have to understand when you go into a neighborhood like that, that you are deciding that that's going to be part of what your monthly expense is going to be, whether you want to or not. If you want to live in that neighborhood, that's what the expenses are. So knowing going in that you're going to be in a neighborhood that you can see it has a pool, you can see it has a tennis court, you can see that it has some amenities, maybe a dog park, or maybe a big park where you can enjoy weekends with your family. You might want to be aware, knowing that, asking the question, hey, I see that there's a lot of amenities. What are the dues that are tied to that? Because that's an expense that you have to pay. Now let's talk for a second about those expenses. If you decide not to pay those expenses are actually tied to your home. And so the association can actually file a lien against you, making you pay those dues, whether if you aren't paying them as you're going along. If you go to sell your home, those dues are due and need to be paid, and there's going to be penalties and interest with those. They are a lien filed against your property for as long as you own the property. They have to be paid, and whoever owns that property. And so you need to pay those each month. So if you're not sure if a neighborhood you're looking in has association dues and you're not sure what that covers, that's some of the triggers that would maybe make you ask the question, is there dues in this neighborhood? Do I have to pay X amount? And what roughly is that amount? When you see some of those amenities, you'll know that. Now, again, this all goes back to dealing with a realtor that knows the communities, knows the area that you're looking, and that has those expertise that can help you understand that. So you want to make sure you're finding a realtor that you feel comfortable with, that can take care of you, and that can make sure that you have all that information before you sign a contract. The other thing is if you're looking for a smaller home, a townhome or a condo, more than likely they are going to have association dues because there's a lot of common area. The parking lots, the sidewalks, the grass leading up to your home, because the property there has a very limited amount of actual real estate there. A condo has a lot of things. The outside of the building is covered by the association. Amenities, of course, but anything on the outside of the building or in between the condos, that's all association owned property. And so the association is tasked with a lot of things there, and so there may be dues that you need to pay to do that. So keep those kind of things in mind. In a home, you're a single family home that's detached, you're more than likely going to be able to tell because there's other amenities around. But in attached properties, townhomes, quadplex homes where there's 4 homes that are in that are all hooked together in a block, maybe condos, those are more than likely going to have association dues that you need to ask a question about, because you are expected to pay those whether you say you didn't know about them or not, and you will have a lien against your ownership that must be paid in order for you to transfer that property to someone else. And they'll file a lien against you and have some court proceedings to force you to pay those bills. So you want to make sure that that's taken care of, because ultimately that association can't be successful if the people living there don't pay their bills, because they need to take care of the amenities that are there for you. That makes your neighborhood beautiful, it makes your pool nice, makes your biking trails nice, makes your tennis courts, your dog walk area, all of those things that you purchased that home for. There's you have to contribute to make sure that those things are taken care of. So it can affect your ownership. Obviously, a lien can be filed if you don't pay it. They can actually take you to court and force you to pay it, because this is a responsibility you need to take care of. So I just want to talk about why association dues, where they come from, how it's created, so you understand a little bit about the big picture, and also your responsibility when you buy a house in a neighborhood that looks really nice like that. More than likely there's an association to help cover the beautification of that neighborhood and the amenities that you are so proudly purchasing and to help keep your value up in your neighborhood. So good morning, Tulip. How are you today? Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey there, Brian. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So hopefully I gave you a little bit of information that helps you out today. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, and I also wanted to share with you, there's a couple of things when you're looking at this kind of information or you have these kind of questions, please go check out our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. All of our videos are on there. There's other social graphics that may give you some other information, our blogs that have lots of details and information on there. So there's some great resources you can download. Our Welcome Home Guide is out there right now that you can download if you're new to the area or if you have somebody that you're working with that's new to the area, whether it's in Southern Maryland or the northern neck of Virginia. We have guides for both of those areas. So I really love bringing you resources and would really hope that you go there and check that information out. The other thing is if you found some value in what we talked about today, please share it with people you know. There are going to be people out there that you know that may need this information that I can't reach out to because I just don't know them. So thanks for taking the time to do that for me, sharing, and I really appreciate you taking your time to check in and also to follow. And this is Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group. I love talking to you guys about helpful information about real estate. If you have a topic that I don't talk about or I haven't talked about or that you've come across, please share it with me. I'd love to help out things with things that you maybe have come across or that you have questions about. So I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your own home ownership. Hope you guys have an awesome day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.